After an ankle injury, it's very common to see patients who regain their range of motion and strength in just a few weeks, who walk without pain and even return to sport, but who still feel instability, insecurity when weight bearing, or suffer relapses. And this happens because recovery doesn't just depend on muscle strength, but on neuromuscular coordination during functional tasks. In other words, the ankle might seem recovered in analytical tests, but fail when the foot is under load, and one of the clearest examples is the synergy between the Peroneus brevis and the lateral gastrocnemius. In a healthy ankle, both muscles work in a coordinated way to stabilize the joint. The Peroneus brevis provides lateral control, preventing inversion, and the lateral gastrocnemius assists with propulsion and weight-bearing stability. But when this synergy is disrupted, especially after sprains or repeated episodes of instability, the Peroneus brevis can lose its ability to activate during functional tasks, even if it seems normal on the treatment table. And so the body compensates by increasing the activation of the lateral gastrocnemius, creating a less efficient pattern with poorer lateral control and a higher risk of relapse. To understand this better, imagine a typical clinical case, a patient with right ankle pain, almost normal range of motion, but a feeling of instability during demanding movements like jumping. And here, the key is not to rely on just one test, but to analyze different levels of demand. First, in an isometric eversion, the right Peroneus brevis might show similar activation to the left, which could lead us to think everything is fine, but this test is non-weight bearing and very controlled. Second, in single leg stance, which is much closer to functional reality, an activation deficit appears in the right Peroneus brevis along with less involvement from the lateral gastrocnemius, indicating that the system isn't responding correctly under load. And thirdly, in a single leg heel raise, the lateral gastrocnemius tries to compensate by increasing its activity, but the Peroneus brevis continues to activate below the expected level, confirming a compensatory pattern that doesn't resolve the main problem, the lack of lateral stability. These types of results reflect something fundamental in clinical practice. A muscle can function well in isolation and fail in real movement because when the foot is on the ground, proprioception, postural control and coordination between muscles come into play. And if any of these elements fail, the ankle loses stability. That's why many patients are fine on the treatment table but feel insecure when walking or running. The problem is that if we don't detect these deficits, the patient returns to their activity with an inefficient pattern, increasing the risk of relapses and even chronic instability. Furthermore, treatment often focuses solely on gaining strength without addressing neuromuscular coordination, which explains why the problem reappears when demands increase. This is where surface electromyography makes all the difference, because it lets you see when and how much muscles activate during real tasks, detecting deficits that don't show up in conventional tests, and checking if your exercises are generating the response you're looking for. Moving from a subjective assessment to an objective analysis that lets you adjust the treatment with precision. Ultimately, regaining mobility and strength doesn't guarantee a full recovery. The key lies in how the muscles coordinate under load, and analyzing the synergy between the Peroneus brevis and lateral gastrocnemius lets you identify invisible compensations and design a rehab focused on re-ankle stability, reducing the risk of relapses. So I'll leave you with a question. How many ankle relapses occur because it was never analyzed how the stabilizing muscles actually activate? If you don't know which muscle is failing and which is compensating, the patient will likely get injured again. So if you want to go a step further in your clinical practice, request information at the link in the description and discover how to integrate EMG into your clinic to optimize ankle rehabilitation.